and welcome to Washington Talk. I'm Eun Cho. Carafano, South Korean President Yoon was arrested and questioned, and former senior officials told Washington Talk on this program that the U.S. shouldn't intervene in allies' domestic politics, but that could change if there's crisis, and more specifically, if Corruption Investigation Office used force to arrest President Yoon. Now, there wasn't use of force this time, but how would President Trump perceive the arrest of President Yoon, a staunch U.S. ally?
Well, I think the United States is going to respect Korean democracy and the political process. And if there are abuses of that democracy and that violate the constitutional and rule of norms in Korea, like any responsible foreign power, the United States would highlight that. But I don't think right now the United States is focused on one thing. Our ally is not one political party or another political party. Our ally is the Korean people and Korea. Just like in Taiwan, Taiwan has elections all the time. We're not sitting here saying, well, if that party wins, we're not going to. Taiwan is strategically important in the United States. An alliance transcends that. And that is certainly absolutely going to be true with the United States and Korea. And it's been true every day of this relationship since the 1950s.
Dr. Weinstein, in the first impeachment motion against President Yoon, the opposition parties accused President Yoon of antagonizing China and North Korea and Russia and pursuing Japan-focused strange diplomacy. They take issue with the information campaign against North Korea and sending monitoring team to Ukraine. These are directly linked to U.S.'s national security. Mr. Lee Jae-myung and the Democratic Party argue that they have consistently promoted U.S.-South Korea alliance and cooperation with Japan. Now, depending on which political camp comes to power, would that affect President Trump's perception and willingness to cooperate with South Korea? Will Korea's domestic political landscape be an important factor in the future U.S.-South Korea relations in the next 4 years?
I think it has to be, for better or for worse. If the new government comes into South Korea and decides it wants to rupture with the U.S., Japan, South Korea trilateral alliance, if it wants to cozy up to China, if it wants to pursue a new version of sunshine policy, it's going to create a greater policy difference between the two countries, between the two governments. That's just the case. It doesn't mean that the alliance is any less important to us. It just means the alliance will be able to achieve a lot less together. All the statements about the various impeachment motions that you talk about were things that certainly the Biden administration liked the Yoon government doing, and certainly things that the Trump administration would like the South Korean government to do. So there'll be policy difference. It's going to make it more complicated to deal with the tariff issue. It's going to make it more complicated to deal with the trade issue, and it's going to make it more complicated to deal with the security issue. To be frank, so
you talk about the potential for less cooperation between Seoul and Washington. Should there be a regime change in Seoul? Do you think there's a potential for a conflict between Seoul and Washington over cooperation on China policy?
There could be significant differences on cooperation and over China policy, certainly, that are going to be a challenge. It was very welcome that President Yoon set up his own Indo-Pacific strategy, which very much mirrored the U.S. Free and Open Indo-Pacific strategy, which itself was based on Shinzo Abe's Free and Open Indo-Pacific strategy. But if Seoul decides that it needs to cozy up to Beijing, that it needs to have better relations with Beijing, that will come at a cost to its relations with Washington. It's not something that can be balanced. Our real focus now is facing the geostrategic challenge posed by China, and it's important that our allies understand this.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Dr. Carafano, Dr. Weinstein, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. 감사합니다.
And thank you for watching. We'll be back here next week with U.S. experts to discuss the two Koreas and the region right here from Washington.